you're looking forward to She-Hulk and the Fantastic Four as well, because
Yes.
if you're just looking forward to She-Hulk, also, I need
Yes, don't
everyone
be a
to
hater. Don't be a hater.
you
Just
know
trying it.
what?
All right, all right. What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of another relaunch. What's going on? I am LZ.
Hey everybody, I'm Keenan.
How are you doing today, Keenan?
Um, did you? I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I went on like a cabin trip last weekend for my friend his birthday, and it was like a small group of us. We went out to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It was
Oh,
really
fun.
exciting, beautiful. We saw like three bears.
Oh, okay.
One was in the backyard of our cabin. And so, like, as soon as we saw it was like a little baby. So I was like, oh, the mom was not too far behind. Then we saw another baby later on that day. And then I think our last day there, I was like out in the front taking a picture of the skyline and everything and the mountains. And I look to my right, and a little bit down the street, there is a giant big mama black bear, like just walking up the street. And
Child.
so my soul left my body. And I, and I was just like,
Not
oh
the
my
revenant.
goodness. And so, like, I took like a couple pictures real quick. But then I was standing there and I'm like, so, I'm still far away enough that I'm pretty sure I would have been fine. But I was like, I don't want to run or anything or move super fast, because I was like, what if this bear like sees me or like gets scared and like starts chasing me? So I'm kind of just standing there like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? But then she turns up a hill, and so as soon as she does that, I just like go running back to the cabin.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so then like we were packing up to leave and everything, and so I'm like, they keep leaving the door open because they're making trips back and forth to like put the bags in the car, and I'm like, you guys need to close the door. There's a bear outside.
Could you imagine that bear just like walking in there? I've seen
But
videos like that.
and no, and I was gonna say that's the thing. So as we were going around the town, when we go to stores and stuff, they would have signs up there to say like, this is bear country. Make sure you lock your doors, because they will come into your house.
Absolutely not. What I'm gonna do? I ain't got no powers.
When I saw them, but like I stopped. You know how you say like you see movies or you read books and they're like the person that's paralyzed by fear. I was paralyzed by fear. My legs did not work. I said, I don't know what's gonna happen right now.
Jeez. Demon bear all out there? I couldn't do that.
But I made it,
You're here.
and I was able to
Did you
get
have a
comic
great time?
books. I did have a really good time. Yes,
Great.
highly recommended.
Good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get up into these comics of the week. First up is the Aquaman 80th anniversary special. Now, I already know that you got this, and
Mm.
as listeners already know, Aquaman is your number one. So tell us how this was.
Oh my
And
gosh!
happy
So
80th, I guess, to Aquaman. Damn.
happy eight, and you know what? Also today, well, by the time it'll be passed, but by the time this airs, it'll be passed. But today is also my grandfather's 80th birthday. So happy
Oh, no.
birthday to Bob.
Happy
We
birthday,
love
Bob.
you. 80 years of you, 80 years of Aquaman, maybe
I
80
know
years of
that's right. Yes.
okay. Shout out to that. But no, this was really, really good. I think as a huge Aquaman fan, it was just very fulfilling to kind of see some of these creators come back. We got a lot of folks who joined the docket to tell little stories here and there. A couple, Jeff Parker came back, Jeff Johns came back, Dan Jurgens had a story here. Margaret Bennett, who's done a lot of stuff for DC Bombshells, she came in and did like a Mirror on Arthur story in that style. Um, so it was nice to just like go through all of these various moments of his history and kind of add new spins to some of the stories or tell little, how an anthology book works. It gives you those
Yeah.
little stories of characters. So that was great. We got two featuring Jackson in here. One was written by Jeff Johns, and it's basically Jackson and Manta meet up every year on Father's Day.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's like this is the one day they kind of call the truce, and Jackson's still like, well, you still need to turn yourself in. And Black Panther's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then the other one is from Brandon Thomas, who's going to be writing Jackson's story as he becomes Aquaman, which comes out September 21st. Add that to your pull list if you haven't already. You can go on Comixology and subscribe. Um, he tells a little story in there about Jackson, Arthur, Mira, and Andy, and how they're just vacationing. Arthur's training him, and Mara tells Arthur, she's like, "Oh, there's something I need to show you over there," and so they leave.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Because Arthur's like, "Oh, Jackson, can you watch Andy?"
I know that's right.
Yeah, so they leave, and while he's doing that, like we see a little cute montage of him and Andy. He's doing some of his training stuff, and she's mimicking him. And so it's a really nice callback to the time in Future State when he was Aquaman and he was training her on the use of her abilities. So I was like, that was cute because we get like the baby, and she's like trying to say his name. I really loved how Jackson's been so well integrated into the Aquaman family. It's been a little rough, and people love to bring up Rebirth Jackson. I mean, not Rebirth Jackson, Brightest Day Jackson, and like how they kind of miss the difference of that character versus the one of Rebirth. I think what a lot of people don't remember is that the Brightest Day Jackson was not around for a very long time. He was literally just in Brightest Day. Then we never saw him again, and then the universe rebirthed. So Rebirth Jackson is technically the only Jackson we've ever really had. And the way they've done this character arc from his time in the Teen Titans to finally joining the Aquaman book under KSD to like now and the history they've built up, he's really been working on his heroism, and it's great to see. He saves Andy.
I forgot he was with the Titans, the Teen Titans for so long.
He did a lot.
He really has been like kind of been built up. Damn.
He's been working. And so it's just been really nice to see how all of that comes about. And so they get attacked by Scavenger. They're trying to get this crystal. He protects Andy. Aquaman and Mara come out again to help him save the day. And he starts telling Arthur, he's like, I almost lost Andy this time. So it could have been really bad. We need to step up my training. I need to do this better. And so he says, okay, there's this thing I was working on with Batman that was going to be for Andy when she was ready to be a hero one day. He's like, but maybe it actually is meant for you instead. And so that's going to lead into his book. There was also another short story in there with Manta, and that was written by Chuck Brown, and that's going to be leading into his series that's starting in October.
Okay.
So all around, like, if you're not an Aquaman fan, I recommend picking it up just to learn a little bit more about him. If you are, highly recommend it because it's a good read. Nice art all around. Great writing. 4 out of 5.
Any clues as to what they're going to be doing with Arthur going forward next? Like,
not really, and it's kind of weird. So, we've got the Jackson book, we've got the Manta book. He also is going to have a team up series with Green Arrow, which is like a little strange because it's like Arthur and Ollie aren't really close, and they're never two characters who you kind of think about being together.
No.
So it's kind of like, okay, that's going to happen. But I guess we'll just see what happens after all of that ends. So I personally think they are going to move forward with having Jackson as like Aquaman going forward. Something might happen with Andy where she gets aged up. I don't know how long they want to keep her a baby. I will say, like, DC loves to make their like kids older.
They do, point. Yeah. Yeah. They like to get straight to the point.
Yeah, they like to move it along. So I don't know if they're going to do that. Whatever happens with Arthur and Mira, I think it'll be something to do with Atlantis, but maybe not ruling. Like I can see like that's how they could split it up. They could do a thing like where Arthur is like quote unquote Aquaman down in undersea, and Jackson is Aquaman up on land.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would like that, like a dual book.
Yeah, something like that. So.
Okay. We'll check that out, y'all. All right. Up next is Astonishing Times #2, written by Frank Barbary and Aris Quinones, and art by Rory Coleman. Now, this book is part 2 to this Comixology original that I just started reading and picked up because I saw the one character that looked like me.
I remember when you were talking about this.
Yeah. So this is about a reporter who he's basically like the point of view character in this series. And think of him as like, what's Superman's reporter's name?
Clark Kent or Jimmy Olsen?
Jimmy Olsen. Yeah, he's kind of like a Jimmy Olsen. Like he is friends with the superheroes, or at least his dad was. Let's say that his dad was more like the Jim Yosen, who was friends with all the superheroes and everything, and the main character here wants to kind of follow suit, but like people don't care about heroes anymore because they're everyday, like it's just whatever. And in the last issue, this cosplayer got killed. He went to this place, got dressed up as this character Gold Rush, and got killed. And someone like altered his DNA. We find in this issue to make it seem as if he was the real Gold Rush. And we learned that one of the old heroes' name, I can never really, I think it's Koken is how you pronounce it in this book. Yeah.
Like cocaine?
I don't know. He is kind of fast in this, so who knows? But I think that's how you pronounce it. And he's like this like ninja Batman kind of character, and he is the point of view character's like favorite superhero. And he kind of brings him in on the mission because they're trying to figure out who killed this cosplayer, and like who's trying to set up the fact to make him look like the real Gold Rush. And by the end of it, we find out that I think his dad was like the reporter's dad. Since he was friends with all the superheroes, he had this like briefcase where he kept a lot of like secret stuff in it. And Koken had told the reporter, "Hey, your dad like has some data, some like encrypted data. Could you go and get it?" So he goes in and breaks into this security vault and gets this briefcase. Opens the briefcase because of course it's his birthday, because the son, like, that was his love. And you get the sense that Koken has been maybe setting up the reporter, and like you don't know where his side is, because like the look on his face after they open it, there's this like vial of stuff in it. I don't know if it's gonna like give you powers or something like that, but yeah, you don't know what's really going on here, because you think that like, oh, Koken's the superhero and Noah is the reporter's name, and he is like so like bright-eyed or whatever. So you don't know if you're gonna like get. He probably gonna get killed. Who knows?
I was gonna say he definitely being set up by cocaine.
yeah, he's definitely getting set up. So I actually really like this series so far. It's a really fun kind of superhero book. This world that they're building is really cool. I think it's very interesting that like superheroes are very common, and that people like, don't care. They're not like, blown away by the idea of a superhero flying around and doing anything. And the Noah is really trying to inspire people again, and really want people to just kind of become very like happy again about superheroes and bring that excitement back. But the people in this world don't care.
I mean, I guess after so many times, I would probably be the same way. Like, it's probably a Superman every day, a Joker trying to kill you on your way to work. It's like an inconvenient train at some point.
Yeah, there's this thing in this series called the Cataclysm, which was this big thing that's a bunch of superheroes died at, but like people look at that as like whatever. We get one of those once a month.
Okay.
So yeah, I actually really enjoyed this series. I would give this a 3.5 out of 5. Really solid art, really solid story. It's a Comixology original, so if you're subscribed to Comixology, you can read it for free. But if not, you can get the book. I think it's only like $3, so I definitely would recommend it. I'm going to stick with it during this first arc and see what's up. They haven't introduced the character disaster that looked like me, although he's been in flashbacks and stuff when they bring up like the Cataclysm and how like superheroes used to be. So that makes me think he probably evil.
I was about to say, I was gonna say dead, but
or dead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so he's dead. That's what it sounds like. Well, actually, no, they probably think he's dead, so he'll pop back up.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah, he'll pop back up. Probably have to like relearn.
It's gonna be like a big thing. Like we'll have oh my god, the hero of all times is alive.
I'm gonna live for that. All right. Up next is this Midnighter annual, and I did not check this out.
Oh my god!
Honest. I didn't, because I had a feeling I wasn't gonna get too much Apollo in this, and I love them together, but I really want to get more Apollo.
And so you are wrong. I mean, you're kind of right, but you're also wrong. You didn't get a lot of Apollo, but he was there. So basically, this was written by Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad with art from Michael Avon Oming, and this entire annual is the pinnacle of all the future state stuff that's been going on in the Action comic backups. And so it was just really great to finally have it all in one spot, because the backups have been great in Action Comics, but again, because you have to kind of wait that time in between books, and then just the way the backups are written, you tend to forget a lot. Plus, it was Future State. Future State was a very long time ago, and so I was like, I gotta go back and read some of the Future State books to really remember what they're talking about. um, but basically, the Cliff Notes version is Midnighter has been stuck in a time paradox. His self from the past is in the future, and his self from the future is in the past. And there's this man, Andrew October, and he is going to, in the future, create cyborgs, basically. He enslaves humanity by like merging them with robots. So we get a little bit more backstory onto this guy. We see that when he was a kid, he watched his mom die from some disease, and he said like that's kind of what sparked him on this path to like merge with machines, because he was like, I always saw the human body as inferior and something that would dissolve and die, and it needs to be improved upon. The Midnighter from the future took a part of his supercomputer and merged it with his brain. So Andrew, the guy, has been like in his head, and so this has been causing a rift between him and Apollo. I don't know if you remember when I was telling you about that. And Apollo's like, on, you being real selling, and Midnight's like, just let it go. We also ends up teaming with Mr. Miracle in the present day, Shiloh Norman, which was also really nice to see, because again, he has the series going on. I really feel like they're like building him up to be in Superman's Authority book, or like just a part of the Superman corner a little bit in a grander sense, and like I'm here for it. So
they're really building him up to like be another character. I like that.
I love that. Yeah. And so they're working together to stop this guy. And so while they're fighting some of his like cyborgs, Apollo pops up, and Apollo is like, what's going on? And Midnighter's like, look, like I'm not, you can't get involved in this. And so Midnighter has a line. Actually, I was like, oh, you would have loved this if you heard it. His line is, hold on, let me pull up the issue right now.
I love that. Maybe I should have read this as Apollo popping up like, oh, what's going on?
Fighting the robots, and Mr. Miracle and Midnight are getting their asses kicked, and they're like, Apollo, help him, and Apollo's like, no, he said he was going to do it on his own, so I'm going to do it on his own.
I know that's right.
He's like, no, right. But so finally, Mr. Miracle kind of has a moment with him. He's like, look, if you just need him to say he's sorry, like I'm gonna say it for him. I'm sorry. And so he's like, I would appreciate it. Like, we just need your help. And so Apollo does his thing. And he dissolves all these monsters. And they're like, oh wow, it was that easy for you? And so he says, yes. Midnighter, you need to explain yourself. He says, I've given you your space, but now you need to respect my patience. Tell me what's going on.
T. That is a word.
As soon as I read it, I was like, I know Lazarick didn't read this book. And I was like, and he needs to. I was like, because this is the Apollo that he wants to be reading about right now.
Yes.
But then basically Midnighter tells them everything that's going on. They go fight the bad guy. This bad guy has actually created his own version of a mother box. He calls it like a stepmother box. And so he uses his own boom tube to bring like the right Midnighter back to the present. They fight him. What he does is Midnighter from the future that's in the present now, he kills the bad guy. But because the bad guy has obviously been doing all this stuff with the machines, the supercomputer that Midnighter has in his head, he sends his consciousness into that.
Oh, okay.
And so then they both are in Midnighter's head, but then what Midnighter ends up doing is blowing himself up so he could just like end it all. But the guy had another cyborg on the side who he transferred his consciousness into that one.
I love good robots. Yes, I love it.
I was like, oh wow. I was like, so he's still technically alive, just in another cyborg. The right Midnighter is in the present. Apollo and him are back together, and then Mr. Miracle is around. He's like, even tells him, he's like, I'm here if you ever need me for any future missions or anything like that. He's become like a nice little friend to them. So that was also nice to see. So just a really good issue all in all. It was a great Midnighter tale. I loved the action was nice, the art was fantastic. There obviously, for those who don't know, Midnighter is a very like action heavy character. He fights all the time, so it's like we get a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of fighting. Like I said, it's kind of
he
like
gonna he
just
gonna beat somebody's ass. That's
yeah. And throughout this, we also get like some nice little character moments with him because this guy's been living in his head, and he kind of talks about like, why are you always trying to fight everybody? What is it about you that makes you so aggressive? Like, why don't you actually care about yourself and your well-being? Why can't you be honest with Apollo about what's going on with you and all of this stuff? Like, what's holding you back? So it's really nice to see those character moments that we don't always get with Midnighter. It's typically just like, I'm the gay badass who can kick your ass.
Right. With a computer in his brain.
With a computer in my brain. So it's like, okay, we're getting to the rut a little bit of what's going on in his mindset. So again, another really great read, another 4 out of 5 for me. I think if you're a Midnighter fan, pick it up. I think if you're an Apollo fan, pick it up. I have again been talking relentlessly about how good Action Comics is and how good I think Superman and the Authority is, and like just the Superman corner right now. This feels like a cousin to the Superman universe.
Yeah.
A little bit. So it's just like, get into it. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, y'all. Up next is Hellions number 15, and this is written by Zeb Wells with art by Rojo Antonio. And I again still enjoying this book a lot. This one was one that really had the payoff in it. You've Last issue, it was all revealed that Sinister had used the Hellions to obtain some DNA and genetic material from the from Ameth, and but he told the Hellions that they were successful in their mission, but they found that they weren't, and they had to fight the Tarn, the Uncaring, and everything there.
Yes, I remember you said that.
Yes. Did you check this issue out?
No, I did not.
No. Okay, I figured.
I heard good things about it.
Yeah.
I mean, but I've always said Hellions is a good book. It's very well written. I don't know. It's also I was thinking about why I couldn't really connect with it because like Mr. Sinister is like one of my favorite villains.
Yeah, he's definitely become one of mine.
And I was like, why couldn't I get into him in this book? I was like, do I not like Zeb Wells' Sinister? But I was like, that's not true either because I like his Sinister. I was like, I just don't think I like the character to talk to.
You probably don't like the cast. That's fair. Well, they were doing the damn thing in this one. They tried to fight Tarn, of course, but it didn't work out. Psylocke tried to use her telepathy against Tarn, but she's not that powerful, so it didn't work out. He ends up using her mind. Well, she ends up giving away the information of where Sinister went because in the last issue, Sinister and his clone escaped through a gate. She said, "End the fighting, and I'll tell you where he went." And Tarn used his telepathy to find out exactly where the information was. Got it from her. They left, and they end up finding out that Sinister made his own chimera, and it's a chimera between him and Tarn. So you see this like Tarn Sinister chimera that he created, and Tarn ended up showing up to he ended up being in Murder World. He ran away to the basement of Murder World is where his clone farm was. So, but Tarn ended up showing up, and Sinister ends up showing him like, hey, before we even try to kill me, why don't I show you what I made? And who knows? They may have been about to have some kind of alliance there, but turns out that Emma had sent Empath to kind of watch over Sinister.
Empath is still in the book?
Yeah, he's still there. And he had told Sinister, hey, just let you know, you were never supposed to be doing stuff like this. Emma sends her regards. And Empath used his powers to control Havoc, who like exploded the entire place and probably killed everybody there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Havoc's got that kind of power.
Oh wait, wasn't that lady's daughter was in there, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, well not the daughter per se. She finally told everybody.
Or her like DNA.
Yeah, she finally told everybody that she was working with Sinister because Sinister has the only copy of her DNA that isn't in a like backup. So if she wants to have her daughter like brought back to life, she needs to work for Sinister.
Oh Oh, that's sad.
But they told everybody there, and Grey Crow even like he understood, so that was cool. They also end up fighting this kind of like
Greyco's still in the
monster
book?
creature thing. Oh yeah, he ain't going nowhere. This is like kind of his book. Him and Psylocke are like the leads, and
I just feel
and
like maybe
Sinister.
we need. I feel like if there was like a Sienna Blaze or a Fantasia on the roster,
You want more ladies?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Wild Child.
It does need way more some ladies on the team. There's some bad girls that could be joining on the Hellions.
Aren't there? Okay. We could do a whole show on that. Okay.
Plenty of
Love
them.
Bad Girl. But no, I
Yeah.
mean, it sounds exciting. The stuff with Sinister sounds really nice. I'm not too sure how I feel about the Chimeras, honestly. Uh, to be real with you, that part of Hoxpox was not really my favorite. I'm not into the whole like creating mutants like
Yeah, me neither.
things of whatever they're supposed to be. I was like, I like my mutants born naturally, I guess.
For me, with the whole Chimera thing, it always ends up feeling like, okay, well, they're going to be cannon fodder. Like,
Yeah. It also kind of becomes a thing of like, well, if we could just make our own mutants, then what is the specialness about these
right.
powers? Like, we can just do this with anybody. But whatever. That's a whole nother thing. But the stuff with a Sinister Tarn Chimera does sound interesting nonetheless.
It looks kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. It looks kind of cool. And the entire team was like fighting this like amino fetus thing that like you couldn't feed it energy because then it's gonna grow into this like baby thing that's gonna end the world. It was obviously meant to be a thing where like Tarn would have to leave and have to go back and like take care of this thing away from Sinister. But I don't think villains like that are interesting because I think they're kind of gross. Like, kind of like biological things with like 6 arms and like
Like
whatever.
a body horror growth. So I actually do like villains like that. I think they are amazing. But it's also one of the reasons why I think Husk, the character, should be a villain.
Oh no. Yeah, I think it's gross. But yeah, I think overall I would give this issue like a solid 3.5 out of 5. For
Okay.
sure. I'm still into Hellions. I really like this series a lot.
Yeah.
I'm still shocked that like it is still kind of going, considering like I feel like this team is full of people that like are kind of
Yeah.
lower tiered characters.
Hmm.
There isn't a Jean or a Storm or whatever on this team. So like it's interesting that this has kind of been still going on. I think that's just a
Yeah.
strength to the writing and the art and everything there. So
Agreed. The creative team has been doing amazing things. It reminds me a lot of how Ped's X Factor was like successful when he had the team with like Madrix and Wolfsbane and Strong Guy. It's like you kind of have all
yeah.
these like mature characters, but it's a book that still feels very important to the line, has a lot of heart, and even though it's a little disconnected, it's still connected.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to them. And it's a book titled Hellions.
Right?
It's
Who
like who would
knew?
have ever expected something like that?
Who
15 ish.
knew?
What's this? 15? You said?
15. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to them. Shout out to them.
Yeah. All right. Up next is Wonder Girl #3, and this is written and drawn by Joelle Jones.
Georgia.
And I'm
She
not gonna
also has
lie, I dropped it.
I'm not
I
surprised
did.
at that.
I did. I got a little bored. I'm sorry. It's
Adriana
beautiful.
Mello.
Beautiful book.
It is. Adriana Mello also does like some guest art on this as well. Um, it's moving at a snail's pace. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like moving at a snail's pace. Okay. But it looks so good. I will say that this one was a little bit more exciting than the previous issues have been. We saw like Yara is on the run. Well, she's not on the run. Like Cupid looks like he's on the run, and she's like chasing after him to save him from this beast that's with her. There's this other guy who seems to be her love interest. I'm still not really sure what's going on there, but they like kiss a couple of times. But again, it could have been because Cupid shot them with the arrow. These like they're in this forest, and all of these like forest spirit type of creatures show up, and they're telling Yara it's her destiny to protect the land, but Eros has now stabbed her with an arrow, and she is in love with him. So he's like, "Come with me to Mount Olympus," and so she just goes, but she's crying and she's telling the boyfriend like, I'll come back for you, and it's like, why? What's going on? It's just like, what's going on? Why are you coming back? I don't understand. And then, but on the other side of it, we have Wonder Girl Cassie. She's teaming up with Artemis. They're fighting some of the other Amazons. Apparently, everybody's looking for Yara for some reason. We have no idea why everybody's looking for her. We just keep getting told she's important. She's supposed to do something. So they're like fighting the other Amazons, and they decide to stick together because Cassie says she knows where Yara is. And the book ends off with Eros taking Yara to Mount Olympus, and she's greeted by Hera. And she's like, okay. She's like, yeah. She's like, I've been waiting to meet you. You're going to do a lot of great things. And then the book ends. Again, it's just moving a little bit at a snail's pace, but it's beautiful to look at. The bits that get exciting do seem exciting, and it's like, oh yeah, I would kind of want to read this. I just wanted to move along a little bit more. Like, we are about to be 4 issues in, and I still don't know what Yara does. She tries to use her little weapon.
Her little bolos.
It doesn't go too well, so she doesn't know how those operate either. All in all, I would represent, I'd say, 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. Okay. But again, it's from the art. Like, once the story really gets moving, we'll be into a little bit more. Beautiful art, though. Can't stress that enough.
Maybe I'll pop back in maybe a little later. Maybe around like issue 6 or something.
I'm just going through the issue again right now. It's like beautiful to look at.
I'm sure.
Beautiful. Great guy.
Beautiful gowns. All right. Up next is Captain Marvel number 32. And this was written by Kelly Thompson with art by Sergio Davila. And what an opening to the last of the Marvels arc. This book has been giving me everything that I need for Captain Marvel. You know, the ship was going downhill during Civil War II. We were clicking down, and her solo series back then, everything was just relying on her name. And it's Carol Danvers, you know her as Captain Marvel, but there weren't any stories or anything to kind of give her motivation to kind of see what she was doing. And I can honestly say that this Kelly Thompson run has really been fantastic from beginning to current. 32 issues, and I'm still loving it. This issue opens up right off the bat. Carol is just flying around. She says, I'm glad I got a little bit of time for myself. All I've ever wanted to do was fly. And, as some people have probably seen in the movie, that's why she's always wanted to be an air pilot. She's always wanted to fly. And she's flying around. She's like, it's nice to have some time by myself without someone shooting me. Boom, someone shoots her. And they shoot her with an energy blast. And we get about like 15 pages of this nonstop fight between Carol. There was previously in a previous arc, about 2 arcs ago, someone put her in this suit. His name was Vox Supreme. He was an old Kree Inhuman and like mixed with the Supreme Intelligence thing. And he like was this villain who didn't like Carol. And he put her in this suit and made her do his bidding. And he made her take down the Avengers. Now, this time she ends up getting into this huge fight with someone who is also in this suit. She's trying to fight them and figure out who it is. And this entire fight, you are getting the sense of like, they got the same powers as her, so maybe it's a clone. And Carol's like, that's probably a clone. Who knows what's going on? Then she starts to figure out that like, I need to go and get the other. If they are after me, they probably are after other Captain Marvels. I need to go and get like some help fighting this person and go after the other Captain Marvels. So they get into this whole fight. Carol uses her photon blast from her eyes, so she's got an eye beam blast now. But it was really cool that the way Kelly wrote it, it didn't just feel like this brand new power that she could do. after she did it, Carol was like, "Oh, that was actually really hard to control, and I couldn't see, so like I don't know how often I could actually be able to do it." And so I thought that was a really cool touch. But they get into this whole fight. Carol ends up have to like topple a mountain on this on this person, and she defeats her, takes her to Iron Man, and Iron Man is like, "Help me get this suit off because you helped me before." And you're like in this whole anticipation to figure out who it is behind this suit, and boom, you find out. And I won't spoil it on right now, but I was not expecting for this character to pop up in this series at all. I thought it was a clone. I will say that it was not a clone. So Carol finds out that, you know, if they're going after this person, they have to be going after other Captain Marvels. She gets to, or maybe even Kamala, Ms. Marvel. Kamala's the first one to her. She flies over to Kamala. By the time she gets there, there are now 5 of these black suit Carol creatures around Kamala. So Carol's probably going to have to fight all of them.
Oh, wow. The character that I was revealed to be, is it someone who has a connection to Carol?
Someone that has a connection to Captain Marvel.
Okay. Like the guy Captain Marvel.
Just the name.
Oh. What a teaser.
They're going through all the Captain Marvels, it looks like, anyone who's ever had that name. So I don't know if Carol's gonna have to fight them all or if she's going to, they gotta team up or something, but I'm loving this so far. This was a really great issue. Solid 4 out of 5 for me.
This is Carol's longest running series, isn't it?
She had the Ms. Marvel solo series before.
I think
that got to her.
That was bad.
Yeah. It was like half of it was good, the other half was not. And it was when
Moonstone took over the title, it was good.
Oh no, we don't do that. But it was I think that got to 50 issues. So if this makes it to 50, or maybe got to like 47 or something like that, but I know that if this book gets to 50, then this will be. I hope so.
I don't know like how many interviews Kelly does about it or not, but has she given any indication that she has a definite ending for it, or that she like just is open to keep going?
Anytime they ask her, she's always like, I'm down to keep writing Carol as long as I can. You know, I love the character. We'll have to obviously get her on the show so we can discuss that with her or something. But so far I've only seen that she's like, yeah, I'll keep going. I have plans for her. Like, beyond that, I do remember that she had plans for Carol to have another Brood interaction, because that's kind of where Carol got her Captain Marvel like powers activated. That would have been nice, but she said that what happened with the Brood egg in the X-Men, like she had to change some things around. So I wonder what is going to be filling that void now. But yeah, she's going to keep going. I hope she keeps going. I'm loving this series. Like I said, this gets a solid 4 out of 5 from me.
Would you consider Kelly Carol's best writer now?
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. The voice that she has for Carol is so far has been very spot on. She really gets Carol's, not only her determination, but the way that she is in a fight. It's not just her throwing fists and just punching and blasting stuff. She is someone that actually thinks about what she has to do, especially when it comes to her photon blast, because it's energy. So like, you know, you can't just sling that everywhere around you. And she thinks about these things and how they're going to affect everyone else around her. So she's got a really great voice for Carol. And she's got even the stubbornness down. It's, you know, she doesn't shy away from, she even doesn't shy away from that stuff too. So I like that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah. Keep it going, Kelly. Okay. Last on the list, but definitely not least, is The Many Deaths of Laila Starr. And that was written by Ran V with art by Felipe Andrade, and 5 out of 5.
Like,
say that.
Easily. Wow. You know,
I wasn't even one to even, this was never even on my radar until you brought it to the show. Really, like, just hearing the conversation about what it was about and everything, I said, "Hey, this sounds really interesting." So I definitely wanted to go ahead and pick this up, and I don't regret that at all. This was a very great. I wish it was kept going. I didn't know that this was only like a miniseries.
I didn't know that it was only 5 issues either. So when I saw like some of the early reviews coming out, like, oh, Layla Starr's final issue, I was like, what? I was like, what? No. But man, I think this is also just a really great example of what comic books are and like what they can be. I know so many people look at them and they're like old cartoons, or they automatically think of superheroes and things like that, and they forget that comic books are a medium at which it's a storytelling medium. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can talk about anything in a comic book. It's just, and like when you got the right artist, like this book had, it packs such an emotional punch, and it just really makes you sit back and think and get you into a good mindset. And it's just like, damn, I love reading.
Yes.
And it's like, it's just, man, Ram V. I need everyone to understand. I like tweeted this the other day as well. I am not speaking in hyperbole when I say of this new generation of writers, or like this new batch that's out here right now, Ram V sits at the top.
He's dope.
Like, I have seen him now switch through multiple different genres of writing, multiple different genres of storytelling. Each one is so impactful. He gets to the heart of these characters. He gets to like something that emotionally resonates. He gives you action when it needs to be had. He tends to get paired with really good artists as well. Like, he's got it.
Yeah.
He's got it.
So this final issue, we see this story of this older man, basically, who has been taking in wayward animals. There was this little girl who gets this dog whose arm is broken, and she takes it to this man, and he will, of course, accept the animal, but not the kid. We are seeing that Death has been basically living her life, and to the point now where she's even wondering, why is she even still going to stop Darius from preventing, from discovering the answer to death, immortality. And she's like, what's even the point? Why am I even going after this person anymore? Now that I haven't had my job of being Death anymore, I've been able to live, party, sex, And she's like, I don't know if I even really need to do this. But she, of course, still ends up going to go see Darius, and he brings her in there and lets her know that she says sorry, and he apologizes to her, and is like, I did try to find you afterwards, from the last issue where I said those mean things to you, and I did try to find you, and I wanted to apologize to you. And he tells her that he discovered immortality like a long time ago. that he it's like which is wild, considering that since I've been reading this, I kept saying, like, is she gonna be like on time? Because every time she dies, she wakes up
like a long time.
Right. It'd be like, 15 years have passed, or like another 10 years have passed. I'm like, geez.
It's like, all right, he gonna be dead. I guess with immortality, he won't be.
Right. So we find out that he basically put it in this box and just kept it away and kept living his life. And he found out that while he did discover the meaning, or the immortality, he found out that people themselves kind of had it by defying death every time they took a breath, which I thought was like a really poignant statement to make.
Moment, like
dope.
Like, I was like, whoa, okay. It was a word. Like, it was a word.
Yes, that people themselves are defying death every time they take a breath. Because he was showing Death the dog that he ended up treating and putting a cast, and the dog was like taking some deep breaths and just trying to breathe, and it was clinging on to life, and he knew that it was going to be okay. And I thought that was just a very beautiful moment. And later we find out that Darius himself is dying, and he had neglected his own son, basically his entire life, because not only did he try to discover immortality, once Death introduced himself to him, he became obsessed with that, and they just had a huge rift that they never got back together.
Yeah, that's always sad.
Which is really sad, and like something that really happens to people, in real life, where like a rift happens and they go their separate ways. And I actually really appreciated Darius when Death said the same thing you just said, where she said that's really sad, and Darius was like, no, because I can live knowing that we both were able to live our own lives, and we had to live with whatever decisions we both kind of made, and I like that Ram didn't shy away from
Getting to the root. Yeah. But again, I think that's like, this book is just a shining example of just how good Ram is, and it's just like the writing is there. It you feel it. And I love the way he's also infused his own culture into a lot of these stories. So it's just like, the gods are Hindu and things of that nature, but it's like, again, he still puts with all these things that anybody else can kind of relate to and understand, and like see how important it is to them in these other senses. It's just this was great.
It was really great. Yeah.
Again, if you didn't pick this book up, I know like sometimes a lot of people when they read comic books, they might have their own particular corners that they tend to stay to. Some people love their Bat books, some people love their X books. But if like there was ever any other comic that you picked up, The Many Deaths of Laila Starr has to be it. And it's only 5 issues.
And shout out to listener Samuli, who I think that he was like a champion for this book, and
he's actually the reason I picked it up.
Okay, yeah. So shout out to him for putting us on, because really great series.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so those were the books of the week. Let's take a little break and then we'll come right back.
That is crazy. But hello everyone, we are back so before I even say that, I don't know if you guys realize, but this is our 50th episode.
Yes. Oh my, wow.
Time is really flying, and I would just like to say a personal, very heartfelt thank you to everyone who listens and like joins in and comments and does all that stuff. We started this like in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, we're still in the middle of the pandemic, but like I said, the beginning of the middle of the pandemic. Obviously, I think like we said, we just really enjoy comic books. LZ, this is a little personal. LZ actually sent me the very first tweet that we ever interacted on.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Text message. He was like, I think this was our first interaction on Twitter. That's how we met. And he was asking about DC books, and Midnight was the only good thing out at the time.
I was like engaging with people and trying to figure out like, oh, put me on to something, y'all. And you were like, Midnight is the only thing that's good.
And so it just like really made me think about like, how all of this really started, just because like we just like to talk about comic books. So for this section of the panel, I'm actually calling it Another Discussion. I know, right?
I like it.
Another word.
Brandon.
Baby, I'll call you. I just wanted to like get back to that and talk about comics as a whole, and like things we're loving, things like we would change how you're feeling just about certain brands. I feel like obviously week to week, depending on what comics come out, we might talk about certain corners that we're really enjoying, but just like things we want from those entire corners, or like getting it all at once. I know something that has been massive is Jonathan Hickman is leaving the X-Men, as we heard after Inferno. I know you being a huge Hickman fan, that's got to bring out some feelings in you. And just
I got feels.
Related books that are coming out next year that involve like She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell, and the New Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur book, and then we saw like Wolverine's getting his own little special that's probably going to lead to the next line of the X book. So it's like, let's talk first. Let's get the Hickman stuff out of the way. How are you feeling with that?
I won't lie. We always knew this was coming at some point. One thing about Hickman, and he's never been shy about it either, has been he comes into something, he will tell his story or give the franchise whatever he feels like it needs, and then put the pieces back together because he's gonna make his exit because he doesn't ever stay on anything like super long. There's always like a finality to his work. So like I figured it was coming at some point. I didn't think it was gonna come so soon. Thought there were gonna be like something else that would happen prior to the quote unquote downfall, but it did take some of the wind out of my sails in the entire like X line, my faith in the X line as a whole, because I do think that the Krakoa era for me so far has been pretty great for like my favorite characters. You know, Lorna's on the X-Men, Exodus is on the Council, Magneto's on the Council, Magneto's Magneto, and you know, so some of my favorite characters have been in some great moments. So the outline for Krakoa has been great or whatever, but some of the parts that fill in the outline for me have not been very great. So I don't know, I'm a little like cautiously optimistic for the future of the X line now that Hickman is leaving.
Okay.
I try to remain optimistic because, like, you know, you never know. Some things could be good, but as the state that they're in now.
Yeah. Is there anything that you is there anything else that you kind of feel like you wish he would have gotten to do a little bit more of, or you wanted to see him delve into that he didn't get a chance to?
You know, I read an interview with him where he talked about his exit right now, and he had an original plan where the X-Men was going to, his run of X-Men was basically going to be the jumping on point for a bunch of books. That I think is actually a very creative way to launch titles, considering that, you know, the whole new #1 thing it's always going to be the thing that these big companies use to kind of bring in new readers and to kind of relaunch a series or whatever. But to not use an event, but to kind of use the main series, the flagship title, to kind of jumpstart these new books that could be one-offs, felt like it was kind of the smart thing to do, especially with Krakoa being this whole like unity, we're all together kind of thing. Yeah. And with Cyclops being the viewpoint for that is fantastic because, again, I still think, in my opinion, Cyclops isn't one of my favorite X-Men, but he has had the best like story arc for himself as far as all the characters kind of goes.
He's the quintessential X-Men.
Like, yeah.
When you think of the X-Men, you think of Cyclops.
Cyclops. So like having him be that kind of point of view character while he would have gone through and had something to do with the start of Marauders, and then probably something even to do with, you know, Betsy become Captain Britain, and then that's how we got Excalibur and all things like that. That would have been nice to see, but obviously that wasn't the case. We ended up just having everyone kind of start right off the bat with their books coming out. I've also would have enjoyed if he would have had another book to write. That kind of wasn't so much of an anthology series as the way that I took the X-Men series that he had. You know, most of those issues,
one and dones.
They're one and dones. I would have liked to have seen him with something else that would have had like more of a continued like narrative and maybe a little bit more action.
Yeah, I can see that.
No, I know he's not really an action writer, but like it would have nice to see him try that.
So. The Hickman leaving thing with me was like strange. I think that I enjoy a lot of the ideas that were going on in the X books, but some of the things that I was like really, really excited for felt kind of flat, and it just ranged from like either mediocre to good. And so as far as Hickman himself, I don't really feel like he was writing too many of the titles or the things that I was necessarily like really looking forward to. But I did really enjoy that X-Men series. And again, he has said, I've seen in interviews, he's a huge fan of the X-Men, and I felt that. Like the way he brought the line together to kind of like do this, and just like Krakoa, and you can see all the stuff that he's built on, and he talks about how he read like all these other previous X-Men runs, and how he pulls from that, and a lot of the stuff that he spoke about, I thought that was perfect. I won't lie, I'm very excited for the relaunch of the line. You know, I'm a reality star like Housewives fan. Everybody knows that. And so it's like I love a good cast shakeup. Okay. It's like I am here for it. And so again, I think for a lot of the writers, while I've enjoyed some of their stories, I feel like we've gotten enough now. It's kind of time to inject something new in there, and I don't think that a lot of them are going to be able to inject the excitement that I'm really looking for. And so I'm excited to see who else comes on and what they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see like who they bring in to kind of shake up the world or whatever. I hope that they can consolidate a lot of the books. I didn't think a lot of them needed to kind of go at the same time and could be kind of condensed together. For example, I think you could easily combine X Corp and Marauders. Like if you're doing the Hellfire stuff, you could easily do the whole like business stuff that you do with X Corp. Yeah, so I hope that there's a little bit more streamlining of the line, and
Okay.
we'll
I
see.
don't know. I don't know if I necessarily mind all the books. I don't know. I like
I
it.
ain't keeping up with all that. Just
I mean, I agree. It's like it can be a bit of a hassle to keep up with, but I think it is the best opportunity to get the most of the characters when done correctly. I would say I think one of the big problems that a lot of the books had is that they are ensemble titles. They're actually solo titles masquerading as ensemble books.
yes. Yeah.
And so I feel like if we had more books actually like utilizing their full cast to their like full capabilities, it would feel a little bit better or more digestible to be like, okay, even though there are a lot of books and I might not want to read everything, I can still read like about these characters that I want because they're being utilized pretty well.
You know, that reminds me of the last time they were all on an island during that Utopia era. And I felt that way about those books. You know, there was an X Force at that time and like, you know, a bunch of other random books, but I mean, they didn't have a lot of my favorite characters on them, but they still like utilized everybody. So it didn't feel as if like Marauders, that is Emma and Kate. And I don't care about watching them two big girl bosses. I don't. I signed up for that book for Iceman and
uh,
maybe a little Bishop, but I'm a little iffy on him these days. But I signed up for that book for Iceman.
they
And
did not wrong.
yeah, at least they haven't really shown him be a cop no more.
I don't know. I think this might be worse. I wouldn't have at least minded the cop because he just would have been doing something. And it was just it. I honestly think like if there is one thing about the Hickman era that has truly disappointed me, and again this might change in like the second Krakoan era that they're talking about, but like so far like the handling of Bishop has been super disappointing. Even just like with his role as a captain, I think all the other captains have kind of gotten their moments. Like obviously Cyclops is Cyclops; he's gonna do whatever he's got to do. Magic has been like in all of these various titles, failing at her job, and then you had
I
Gorgon.
mean, she did pretty damn well with her and Cyclops teaming up against those Brood.
Well, that's because Cyclops was leading.
Now, you're gonna have to give my girl her dues.
Like
Okay.
when she's being told what to do, it's
And she was
fine.
doing the damn thing on Empire too, handling all those like
When
zombie.
she got possessed, because she. Okay, so anyways, and then you had Gorgon. He had like a really dope captain moment on that UN issue with Apocalypse and Xavier and them, and then he even had like his big moment of X of Swords, and so it's like Bishop has just been, pushed to the wayside, being the Red King, and like gets to like a page maybe here or there to do something, but it's been super disappointing. But
I think
he's
I've
supposed
only seen him use his powers like once. And I feel like that Red King thing for me anyway was again just more like alley oops, but instead of like anybody doing a dunk yet. And I feel like Bishop was in a lost place before this, right? Like they had the whole thing with him and Hope that kind of fell flat when you had made him out to be the villain. You tried to fix it by saying that he was like, I don't know, there was weird psychic thing, cool, whatever. That fell flat. And then now you have Hickman who comes in and fixes it. He's like, all right, forget all of that. I'm throwing you an alley oop. Now he's a captain. And I think it was kind of up to Marauders to kind of take it somewhere. But again, instead of, taking it to the hoop, it was just, let me do another one. And he's the Red King now, but who cares?
His captain thing, he should have been protecting the five.
Oh, that would have been dope.
Like you get like more resolution of like his stuff with Hope, and you kind of see them coming together, and like
yeah, that would have been cool.
Like
because I feel like all of the captains too have their own like kind of
They're groups.
assignments. They're like pseudo assignments, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like is Cyclops is the head of all of them, right? And
Yeah, he's
then
Captain Commander, so he's like
yeah,
everything. Magic is like we've seen her kind of overlooking the student body and like all the kids in
the
that
younger
area.
kids, yeah.
Again, Gorgon was like personal
Security.
security on the mission, and Bishop was like protecting Kate.
Yeah, he should have
Like
definitely been like the bodyguard for the
they
five.
did him dirty this era. So I mean, we'll see how Inferno goes. I won't lie, I was a little annoyed by the Inferno teaser when I saw him on it.
Mm.
And just kind of going with like that old like traitor motif. Like the man hasn't even done anything.
Right.
Like
But it looks like they're about to like put him on a council.
that's what the preview page looks like. So again, I'm hopeful. But again, but you know, people are saying the theory is that the council isn't going to exist by the end of Inferno. So it's
See?
like,
So I feel
you
like
know,
again they just like keep giving him like these alley oops, like, oh, we're gonna give him this title, but it don't go
yeah.
nowhere.
So it's like, but again, that's just a theory. We will see how it goes, and we'll see what leads into it afterwards. Obviously, for those who don't know, Bishop is my favorite male character on the X-Men. Like everybody knows, Betsy's up there. When I gotta pick a guy, it's Bishop. Sometimes it's Wolverine. They can teeter a little bit, but it's mostly Bishop. So yeah, so
My favorite
that.
man on the X-Men? Do they have to be X-Men characters?
I mean, if they're
I mean, I
if
was
I
gonna say Exodus, because like, but he's not like
oh yeah, I mean
if
yeah.
I can't pick him, then I'm going Iceman and Magneto. Does Magneto
I,
count?
s- I was about to say Magneto is your one.
Okay. Yo, Magneto, yeah.
Um, it's also interesting when you were just talking earlier about like the releasing and scheduling of comic books and everything, because I was having a thought about that the other day. You know, Twitter was having one of its normal arguments
Mhm.
about the comic industry versus manga.
Ooh, child. His comments
And
get
like
ate up every time.
I don't even participate. I just be on the side looking, and I'd be like, wow. Once the manga
Yeah.
fans start throwing those numbers and those sales out there, it's like
There's nothing you can do.
I don't know what to tell you. But I was like thinking, you know, I really wonder. I was hoping this was gonna. I guess it's kind of happened since the pandemic began. The comics industry has taken a shift in how it releases, and like we've seen DC Comics, they now release on Tuesday. They're getting new publishers, and they're splitting from Diamond, and the model seems to be shifting a little bit. And I'm kind of excited to see how that continues to go. But I was thinking, I was like, how do I want my comics to be consumed now? Again, I was just speaking earlier about like. Um, the Midnighter stuff and Future State, and I was like, you know, it's going on so long over these few months, like you got to kind of consistently go back to really keep up with that. I was like, would I prefer my comics to stay monthly? Do I want to do some type of like, would I be okay with getting a big type of quote unquote manga size comic, but
A
like
trade?
every 3 months? Yeah, like what? Like, am I okay? Wait, just like waiting every 3 months, knowing that I'm going to get like a lot more bang for my buck, and it's going to take me longer to get through these books. But then it's probably going to become a little bit more expensive, also. So it's like that pull list is going to drop.
I would be a lot more selective, yeah.
It's like, woo! Because it's like, you know, at that point you start thinking, it's like, oh, are these books going to become like comics are already getting a little up there. Um, this Aquaman special I think was almost $10.
Oh wow.
And you know, but it was like again it was a really nice amount of books. It was an anthology series, but it's like if I could get 90 pages of like one full story every few months, like is that maybe that $10 is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the pull is just gonna drop, so it better be good.
I don't know. I think that I would need to like. So I think some stories could definitely go that way. I don't think every like publisher or every line should probably do something like that, but I think certain characters could get that. Like, I think you know what? That should be something that you kind of like retire into. Like
Mm-mm.
Wonder Woman, we don't need you. We don't need you to have a monthly story.
Yeah, you're like your like heel turn over against Wonder Woman the last few months has been an absolute delight. I just need you to know that right
I don't know if it's
now.
really been like a heel turn or just like just some truths a long time coming. It's just like I love her. She's dope to watch. But like, I don't think that is a type. I was gonna say even like a Batman too, and Superman. I think some of those like more iconic, legendary kind of long-term characters. I don't think they need to have a monthly book, but they could go to a, you know,
A
3 month
trade like
thing, a trade thing where you can still get those. Where the younger characters or like the more newer characters could get something coming out monthly. You know,
yeah.
we don't even most of the time. I think like the biggest times people even like gravitate towards those legendary characters are when they're like the star of an event or like this big thing for them. So why not just do those?
Okay. That was my point. And so but then also I think about that too with the monthly titles. I think about how DC's kind of been doing it. We were just obviously talking about how um, a lot of books have been lasting. You
Hmm.
know, like we think of some of the X books right now in this Hickman era. We got issues going to like 24, 23, stuff like that. Like, when was the last time you seen an X book do that?
Okay.
It's canceled at 7. And so it's like it's been really exciting, but it's like I also think about DC and how they're doing their books. So they're putting out books for a lot more characters, but they are making them more like miniseries or like maxi related. So it's like you're getting 8 issues here and 12 issues here. Do you have a preference, or like do you think either one of those work better than the other?
I'm not sure if either of the work better than the other, but if I were in charge of that, I would do something similar to a kind of like a Hoxpox release kind of thing,
Hmm.
except I would have not done them individually. I would have had them be trades where
Hmm.
I would have the flagship whatever story kind of be like a trade and
Hmm.
have a bunch of like minis or whatever kind of work around that and then let those go for however long they need to go, but then know that the next trade
Hmm.
or whatever will be coming out in 6 months, so your story needs to rhyme like go around that.
I can see that.
And I think I probably again I would adopt that same thing over at DC. I would do something with, all right, Batman, we're gonna do the Batman like currently he's in Fear State right now.
Hmm.
And I had thought about checking it out, but then it really feels like
It was a lot of
another
books in
it's
that.
a lot of books. Yes,
When I
it's a
looked
lot
at
of
it, I was
books.
like, "Oh wow."
Yeah. I didn't know that this was gonna be a whole like thing. I thought it was
Yeah.
just an arc for Batman. I didn't know that this was like a whole like launch for him.
Hmm.
And um it's just another like villain taking over Gotham. But I feel like you could tell that story and then just have those minis go on like, monthly around it until the
Yeah.
next time another villain takes over
You
Gotham.
know, Gotham is, I don't know, Gotham's got to maybe be a discussion all on its own.
I mean,
But that's got to be like an episode of its own. But it's like the back corner as a whole, I mean, outside of like Nightwing, which I hear really good things about,
mhm.
I just think the back corner as a whole is just kind of like put it on ice.
It's losing its focus, I think.
It's like put it on ice.
It's like they
But
want to make Jace Batman, but like that took a while to kind of get out of the door. And then you don't know really what you want to do with Bruce yet,
yeah,
because he's still kind of around.
always.
So like I don't know. I think it needs a little bit like of a
And then you also got like Damien, who's like still trying to become Batman, and you know he's gonna be Batman one day. And then you got Nightwing, who's just like running around being Nightwing, but he's like Nightwing should kind of be the one like rallying all the Gotham heroes. I feel like to be like,
mm,
what are you doing, or what are you in charge of? He is like the natural leader. I think I've said it before. I might have said it on the show, might not have. I try not to say too much, but Nightwing is DC's like quintessential and best character. He is like
oh wow.
representative.
I've did not expect you to say that on the record. Wow. Which I heard
uh,
it. Y'all
no,
heard it.
everyone's
That's right. Nightwing.
I did this. I might make my jokes, but we all know I don't lie about these characters. I know fully well where they stand and what they do. Um, and so it's like I think if they like, even if Jace is Batman or whatever, Nightwing should be like overhead of everybody and saying, this is your area, this is what you need to do, and kind of carving that path out. And we'll actually talk about this a little bit later because I was thinking about like certain other runs when Red Hood first started running around. We had all these other heroes who were in Gotham doing things, or villains. There's a lot of them. Obviously,
Yeah.
someone else is taking over right now in Fear State. So
Mhm.
if we have all these people running around in bat suits, like that's fine. But like, just make sure they have something specific to do or a specific area.
Yeah, I think they need to have someone kind of come in and do just that. Whether you make Nightwing the voice of that or whoever, but they need to really like say, you are this, you are that, and start placing everybody somewhere. Instead of
And
just having
also,
run around haphazardly.
I also wonder, like, maybe if it's just the writers for Batman too. Is it
Mm.
like, again, someone's always just taking over Gotham, or war jokes and
Yeah.
riddles, and something like it's just
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's what do you really need to do to make Batman exciting again?
That's a topic in itself.
If you have any
That
ideas on how to make Batman exciting again, guys,
yeah, let
let
us
us
know
know
because we'll definitely have
because
to bring that one back up because I think that one is that's a topic on its own because there's just like they've tried everything, in my opinion, killed him, brought him back, killed him again. And I think that gave him a kid, you know, he tried to marry him off. That didn't work. I think that they need to probably just stick to something. But again, we'll have to have a long discussion for that one.
that is that.
Are you enjoying DC right now?
Oh, I love DC right now.
I've been enjoying DC a lot right now too. I feel like they have just been like letting people do whatever they're gonna do. Um,
It you know I hate to say it, but firing Dan Didio was the best
yeah,
thing they could have done. And
yeah.
I know people like
Nightwing
to
is thriving now.
yeah, because he hated him some Nightwing. And it's like, and like, I don't mean it to say like, it always sucks when somebody has to lose their job and things like that. But what Dan envisioned for the DC universe, and like you could see it because every time they were rebooting, and he was kind of saying the same things over and over again, it just wasn't progressing. He like really held tight onto like the Silver Age line of thinking, and in this day and age, it just doesn't work with the comic books that people want to read. It doesn't work with the new generation of readers that we have and what they're trying to do and like what they're trying to see and what they want in their stories. I'm sorry, people don't want that.
Right.
Um, and he was just like really holding fast onto that. And so I think once they kind of got rid of him, and then they started hiring a lot more diversity behind the scenes, like one of the new talent acquisition managers I know was a black man. They've got a lot more women at the helm of things now, and you're letting these creators. And that was one of the things too, as when DC was going through a lot of its issues. So many of the creators who were leaving were talking about editorial and how they had problems with the people who were in charge and who were just like pigeonholing their stories. You don't hear about that as much anymore. I'm sure it still happens to some extent,
Right.
but like people feel, it seems like the people feel a little bit more comfortable to tell their stories. And again, the books that are coming out feel natural. Like I was tweeting about this one day. I think by October, DC is going to have 8 books, all headlining black characters, all written or drawn by a person of color, like
Oh
by a
wow.
black creator. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? And it's like, damn. Like that.
That's dope.
It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's like, the things that people have asked for, they're out there. Mr. Miracle has a book. Jackson's book is about to come out. Manta's book is about to come out. Nubia's coming out.
Yeah, yeah.
John Stewart is leading the Green Lantern series right now. It's
Mhm.
like these books exist and they're actually being written by the people who should be writing them.
Mhm.
And so it feels good and it's not too much. It doesn't feel like pandering.
It doesn't feel pandering. Yeah, it's not like forced.
Yeah, and then it's like on top of that, just all the other series that we have are just really good. Again, I will always scream about how good Action Comics is right now.
Yeah.
They got Tom Taylor, who's like a huge fan favorite writer, doing John's book right now, and it's getting really good reviews. Yara has fantastic art. It looks good, and that's another thing. I think a lot of the artists right now are good. You had Ram V doing the Justice League Dark backups. Justice League is bad, but that's a whole.
That's not a story. I think it's time to Justice League is bad in my opinion because I love Bendis, but I think that it might be time for like a changing of the guard as far as like, and this also affects Marvel too because the same way that Justice League is bad, Avengers is bad, and
Those Born was so good though.
I
It
think
was
it's time to just change the guard on these like flagship titles.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the architects who were kind of running Marvel the last decade, or Marvel and DC, the last decade or so,
Mm-hmm.
I think Bendis, Aaron, I think they're like
Mm-hmm.
the last two, aren't they?
Dugan was there.
He was. Oh, he was. He was doing
Mm.
like Uncanny Avengers and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They can start over. They can.
Yeah,
They
you
can
know,
over. They can be
bring in
editing.
like bring in an apprentice or something. But I think
Yeah.
it might be just time to just kind of change the guard out. And there's no knock on them, like they're iconic. So
Okay. They still
okay,
they still have like all their little creator owned series that are being made into
okay,
TV shows and Netflix series. Girls got money. Okay.
okay. And please, the people we just named, like Aaron's Thor is like that's all you ever hear about.
Okay. James
They're gonna
Baldwin
make it
Creed.
into a movie.
Come on. I wonder. Oh, and that's been another thing too. Did you see like the creators who got the check? I forgot what movie it was. Oh, it was one of the comic book movies, and they were asking him. They were like, "Oh, you probably made a lot of money from your story getting made into a movie." He was like, "No, I got a check for like
Like
twenty
two
five
thousand
hundred dollars."
dollars. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's wild.
yeah, I saw a different someone say that they got more money from their creator-owned book than they got from like the royalties from BVS or something, or like some other like big name thing. And they were like, yeah, it's just I think that the way that these creators are paid is insane. It should be way more. I can't even get the words out because it's like, how does this movie make $1 billion with a B? $1 billion.
Upper
And
case
you have
billion
creators
dollars.
coming on here who are going on Twitter, posting links to GoFundMe's because they don't have insurance and they
And
need to
that
get
has
help
always
with
been like
something.
the craziest thing, like the insurance and stuff. And again, I think that's why I've been a little bit excited about how the pandemic did force the industry to change like a little bit, because it's
Hmm.
like again, like it really started to make some of these creators see like, no, like I deserve a little bit more money, or I need ways to get insurance, and I got like I'm doing this and this is a living for me, and I should be able to survive off of that, because they do. Like again, it takes 30 days for an artist to draw a comic book.
Hmm.
30 straight days of drawing. I got arthritis. I can't do
I can't do all of that. I can barely draw.
it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like super insane to me. Which is like, I don't know. Have you been hearing about all the creators moving over to Substack?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how I feel about that one either.
I don't know. We gonna save that. That's gonna be a separate show.
But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I saw that the new books that Marvel were putting out, right?
Hmm.
The for that they like relaunched stuff with that new Marvel Wolverine book and the She-Hulk
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I will say that while that stuff was exciting, the infographic was a little annoying. One of my best friends sent that to me, and he said that he
Hmm.
got really excited because he thought it was MCU.
MCU.
And I was like, no, it's for the comics. And he's reading the comics now, like he's getting into them, so he does like them. But it really showed me that like a lot of characters in the Marvel universe are really missing. It doesn't really feel like a big expanded universe as much as it is like a reflection of the MCU now, or at
Hmm.
least those are the characters that they focus on.
Yeah.
And I wish that they could kind of get back to leading what the MCU is trying to follow instead of following the
What the
MCU.
MCU is doing. Yeah, no, I agree with that too. Like the movie should always follow the comics, not the other way around. And it's
Hmm.
it's really interesting that you say that about the MCU thing. So there's this girl who I work with. She is a huge MCU fan. She loves all the superhero movies. She always wants to talk to me about them, but she doesn't read the comic books. And so one day I was saying something about that infographic actually, and I was like, think I looking at it on my phone, and I like showed it. I was like, oh, all these books are coming out, and she says to me, she's like, oh, well, who's writing that? I was like, the comic book writers.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, well, where are all the comic book writers at? I was like, writing the comic books. I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that goes. She's like, yeah, she's like, that's where the real people are. She's like, that's where the real stories happen. And I'm like, I'm glad you know that. I was like, I don't really understand what you're asking me, but I was like, I'm glad you know where the real stories are. So I was like, but I told her, I was like, you should pick some of these up and buy them. And she
Hmm.
said no. But
See, I feel like people get a little afraid about getting into comics, but really you just have to just pick one up and start. Like
truly,
you'll never meet a person, it's or at least let me not say that. It's very rare that you would ever meet a person who started off reading something with the number one of where a character was created or something. Like
or like you just like knew I'm picking this up and I get everything about this character. I think a big I honestly think the biggest joy I ever had becoming a comic book fan was getting to know the character. And a big part of getting to know the character was like going back and reading everything. Yes, did I pick up a random issue one day and I was like, oh, this person looks cool? Sure. And then all I did was hopped on Google,
mm-hmm.
read the Wikipedia, and then eventually I was like, well, let me go and read the books. And like I would go and read these stories, and it gives you, again, I don't really think anyone who reads a comic book doesn't enjoy reading.
Right.
To like some extent, you know, and so it's like I feel no matter what you do, as much as you want to keep continuing on with these characters, you're eventually going to go back and get everything anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
just go for it. Who you like? You like Harley? Don't read Harley Quinn books.
I couldn't tell you because I don't read them, but they sell. She
They do. They
the
sell
leading
so much.
leading the pack,
She leads the
showing you
pack.
girls how to sell a comic.
Like it's crazy because like when you think about like even for characters that you don't really get into or like you don't buy, like I might not buy a Spider-Man book, but I can tell you who Spider-Man fights. I can tell you like some really big Spider-Man storylines that have happened. I cannot tell you anything about Harley Quinn book.
Me neither. I don't know who she fights in any of her books, other than like a Joker appearance, I assume. But that would only happen for maybe an issue or two. I have no idea who her villains are.
Like
I do know that I saw that they were trying to make her more of a hero, and I don't think I like that.
I don't like that either. She should definitely be like stay in her little anti villain heroine thing that she
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like her being more the more villainous,
but shout out to Harley Quinn because that's a seller. We
carrying
talk
that
I
line.
just talked about that episode, and you know that's a seller. Um, that's crazy. Are there any areas of the comic industry like between sci-fi and space and time travel and magic that you
Mm.
find yourself really loving?
You know, I was actually thinking about that recently, and I was like, what has always been the thing that drew me to the Fantastic Four?
Mm.
Um, because I always see people say that they're like boring or like they aren't interested in them, and unfortunately, I think that comes from them not having a lot of good current comics. A lot of their good stuff is just kind of older, back in like the 80s, and a lot of people, I guess, don't really want to go back and read that older stuff. Although I will always suggest the Hickman era good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like what always drew me to them was the exploration and like
Mm-hmm.
the like science and stuff like that. So I would hope that like more books get to do more of that right now.
Okay.
Currently, I've actually been enjoying a lot more of the street level characters because outside of my enjoyment of characters exploring and like going out and being the ones to just kind of make their own decisions for themselves, um, I love a good action scene. Call me basic. I don't care. It is
It
what
ain't
it is.
nothing basic about Lemon actually, because again, as
I
much as we
love a
like
good fight.
reading, we're into these comic books because they're still a visual medium. And
Yes.
seeing those fights,
I
baby.
love a good fight. So I've really been enjoying a lot of like the street level stuff right now because, like I said, a lot of characters are kind of missing and they're not really giving. A lot of my favorite characters are super powered characters. So when they're missing, I don't get too many super powered fights. So a lot of the street heroes are giving right now. So those I really like. But I hope that we get some more characters like with some powers and
I
like
think
doing
they're gonna
something.
come soon. I'm
I
I,
don't. I
again.
really don't need Secret Agent number 37 again. I get it.
I do think they're coming soon. Again, with that little infographic that Marvel released, like with some of their characters, even though most of those characters on it were, I guess, street level
hmm
types.
They were all street level,
Oh wow.
except the Fantastic Four, who I already know. Like they announced the Fantastic Four Reckoning War,
Yeah.
and that's just gonna be about She-Hulk. And I like her, but
Um,
like,
so I think I said this too, but I did see that Dan Slott is bringing She-Hulk into Fantastic Four for an issue or
hmm
so. I think I'm gonna pick that up.
I would not be surprised if he brings her in for like an arc. I think that's his favorite character.
I mean,
And he's been talking about this Reckoning War, if people are interested in it. Literally every time that he writes She-Hulk, he has something about this Reckoning War. He's been doing it for the last 15 years.
everybody knows there's only one girl that really matches up to Betsy at Marvel for me, and that's Miss Jen Walters.
Yeah.
Okay? And if there is
That's your
one
girl.
thing, I know people got issues with Dan Slott, but if there is one thing that Dan Slott does well, it's write some She-Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? So I might clock in for that.
Yeah, she's gonna be there, which I already know that he's probably just setting up the Reckoning War arc for them. So
and then her
yeah.
solo's coming out, and that's gonna be written by Rambo. She-Hulk back, baby.
I hope next year we get into more of the characters who got some powers and I can get about these streets. Cause
I mean, I would like Mr. Blue Marvel to make his grand return as well.
See, it's more science stuff. Some of those characters are all missing. Spectrum.
And I would like him to bring Spectrum along with him, so we can get them back. I see that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay. Well, we're not gonna run up all the time because we know we could do this all day, but I just wanted to have a little quick general chat about some comics and talk. Again, you guys, please let us know. Thank you for always listening and continue to let us know things. If you have an idea of what you do for Batman, your own little personal relaunch. If you're looking forward to She-Hulk and the Fantastic Four as well, because
yes.
If you're just looking forward to She-Hulk. Also, I need everyone.
Don't be a hater. Don't be a hater.
You know what? Let's go ahead. We'll take a break and then we'll come back for the reread.
Bye.
All right, hello, everybody. Welcome back for another reread. And this week, if you tagged along, we did the iconic, the illustrious, the amazing Batman Under the Red Hood, which is a direct follow-up to Jim Starlin's 1988 story, A Death in the Family. And for those who don't know, in this story, Jason Todd, one of the greatest Robins to ever exist, was brutally murdered by the Joker. The funny thing about this is it was actually a fan vote. So
yes, it
DC,
was. So he couldn't have been that much of a favorite.
I think people are just dark and they like sadness. So they should go to therapy as well. But in the storyline, DC sent a thing out to the fans about whether or not they should kill Jason Todd in this storyline, and the fans overwhelmingly voted yes. And in this story, the Joker, Jason Todd, as Robin tries to go and stop the Joker, he beats him with the crowbar, and then Batman's on the way to try and save him, and the building explodes. He dies. Jason is virtually untouched for 15 years.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then, we start to get this story of Under the Red Hood, which was fallout from DC's event Infinite Crisis, where a lot of things were happening in the multiverse. And at this point in time, a lot of characters who had died or in other spaces were coming back. It was like Superboy Prime. Was that his name?
Yes.
And
yeah.
He punched the multi. It was the dumbest thing.
Yes, that
was him. So basically, this story is it's kind of iconic.
I mean, it's okay. So first of all, let me say this. This was actually my first time reading this.
Really?
I know I'm super late.
Oh
I know.
My gosh.
This is actually my first time
I'm
ever reading this.
Now.
Yeah, so I have seen the movie, the animated movie, but and this had always been on my list of things for me to get around to read, but I had never read it. So this is my first time reading this, and let me just go ahead and say they're not doing it like this today, because this out the gate was filled with action and intrigue, and I don't know how this hit back when it was coming out. I don't know if people kind of knew that it was going to be Jason underneath the Red Hood or whatever, but I know for me, you could kind of figure out that it was gonna be somebody that he knew, but
Yeah.
like as the story progressed, it became less about him
Mm-hmm.
being Jason and more about him just like really coming face to face with Batman.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that this was like really
So
good.
I remember like back in the day of the God, back in the day, we were old. Of the time when this was coming out, Judd Winnick kind of had like a shaky reputation in comics, not in terms of like anything he had done, but just like amongst the fandom and his quality of writing. I personally have always been a huge Judd Winnick fan. Anything I've read of his, I loved. I really loved his Outsider stuff. I loved his Green Arrow stuff. Obviously, I loved everything he did with Jason Todd for Under the Red Hood, and the follow-up miniseries he ended up doing called The Lost Days of the Red Hood, which people should also check out. So like, I remember the circles being overwhelmingly positive to this event at the time. I do remember a lot of people being very adamant that they already knew it was Jason. It was kind of
Okay.
obvious.
Yeah, I mean it was kind of obvious. Yeah.
Especially again, like when you think about what else was going on in the DC universe, and like all these other characters were popping back up and like returning from the dead. And Hawkman, his former partner Charlie Parker, who was like the Golden Eagle, had come back. Again, we had like over in the Titans, you had people like Donna was coming back. It was just like, who else is it gonna be?
Mhm. Was this also coming out around the time of Winter Soldier coming back? Because this was giving like a very
I think so. I think was that like 2014, 2015?
this was in 2004 through 2006 for Under the Red Hood.
Oh my
I don't know
God, time
when.
is an illusion. I don't know. What? It came out when?
2004. Yeah.
No. Oh man. Wow. I've been reading comic books for a long time.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And he came back as oh yeah, he came back in Winter Soldier in 2005. So this was around the same time.
Shh. Look at that, inspiring the girls. That's Jason Todd for you, okay? And like, but again, like that's why I say this story is kind of iconic. And when you think about it, all the times it's been adapted in its animated movie. It has been adapted in video games for the Arkham Knight series. It's currently going on in Titans right now on HBO Max, which is like chef's kiss. I think about there's that one scene in the Under the Red Hood, in the comic where Jason's like making himself known to all of the mob bosses and things that like he's here, he's kind of running the show, and he throws that bag of severed heads on
Whew.
the table.
I was like, oh my, this is intense. Can they do this here?
Like, what? Are you playing? Like, who is this guy? Like, how can you not stand? And like, would you think about like how many times we've now seen that in the shows and the
Yeah.
movies, TV shows, and the games. It's like, it's just, it's there. He's that guy.
Yeah.
And one of the things I really loved about this also was just kind of, you really get to see why Jason had such a disconnect with like just kind of Batman and all the stuff and all those angers. I think it actually ties back really well to Robin, which we just read last week, and Damien was kind of going over each person's personality, and with Jason he was like, "You're the most emotional," and it's like,
Yeah.
that's all this
Yeah.
is right here. It's just like that's all this is. And just like that hurt of never feeling good enough, but like also being angry and like not knowing how to handle it. And then you have this interesting dichotomy with Batman, who's just consistently sitting here talking about how he can't work with anybody and how nobody wants to be around him because of all these mistakes he's made and blah blah blah. But you got Nightwing, who is just like hanging by his side the entire time. Because again, who is Nightwing, but like DC's greatest hero, and just
like, I'm
gonna
gonna
do
be riding with
thing.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was just all interesting to see. Great character work, fantastic action throughout. Like you said, we start out the gate punching,
Yeah.
and it doesn't stop.
Nope. The fight with Amazo was dope between Batman and Nightwing with Amazo, and even every fight between Red Hood and Batman was just really dope because the way that they would talk about countering each other's moves and the art was fantastic.
Yeah.
This was just like action packed, and like the character moments were still thrown in. I don't know who that Onyx girl was.
I
She
used
was
to
kind of
love
cool.
Onyx back in the
I
day.
had a feeling I knew
Oh
you would.
my gosh! And like when we were going back over this, when I was rereading this, and I got her page out, because that page of Onyx, like jumping down and fighting those guys, like when I tell you that is a comic book page that has embedded into my memory, for like ever. When I think of some of my favorite pages, like that is one of them. And I just remember seeing it. I was like, oh, this is the dog.
That was a really cool fight. Like, Red Hood had already like beat her up, and when he slid that knife into her shoulder, and he was like, you wouldn't even notice that I already did that because it's just how quick I am, or I don't know if it's just the steel, and her like looking down and seeing it was really dope. And afterwards, he let her free, and he was like, I'm gonna go down there and kill these dudes, and you could join in, or what? She kind of looked for a second.
She was like, I'm down. But again, yeah, like it was just like a lot of great character moments. So I think we also got some really interesting fallout with Batman and Zatanna from Identity Crisis. For those who don't know, during Identity Crisis, Batman discovered that like some members of the Justice League had messed with his memory, and Zatanna, being the powerful magician girl she is, kind of was the one that had to do it. But they've always had a super close relationship, and this was the first time that we ever saw that like on the rocks. And he was like, he made a comment, I needed somebody I could trust, but they were all busy, so I had to call you. And he was like, damn.
I was like, damn. What was going on? I didn't know it was happening because I haven't read Identity Crisis. Only knew about like.
You've never read Identity Crisis?
No, I haven't. I haven't. I know.
What were you? What?
Where was I? I was mostly reading Fantastic Four and X-Men.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And Teen Titans. Oh, and Green Lantern.
Oh, Teen Titans was good at that time. Though.
Yeah, I was also reading Teen Titans a lot of the time.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna have to do another like sometime in the future reread of Identity Crisis, because that's a moment. That shows why Deathstroke is like a nasty man.
Okay? Definitely.
But yeah,
I thought this event was really great. Like I said, and the movie that goes along with it, like the animation in that movie is really great. It's on HBO Max if you want to watch that. It follows it verbatim, like almost to a T. I think that we just need to like, I don't know what's going on with these companies, but like they could do a lot of these animated movies and like turn these comic events into movies. I think that like we should have a lot more of them. I would love an X-Men Second Coming movie. Oh my gosh, that
would be good. I was just rereading Second Coming too. Yes, that would look so good.
Hot. Yes.
That would look so good. The scene of like Betsy and X-23 where they're like fighting against the fighter jet is like coming at them and Betsy's shielding them, and she looks at X-23 and she's like, you need a moment, and she's like, no, and she's like, good girl, and she just throws her up. Like I was like, yes.
Yeah. And just all of them fighting all those Nimrods and stuff, that would be dope. There are a bunch of like DC events that I would love to see animated that I think would be really cool, but they need to go ahead and give us more of these animated movies because the Under the Red Hood movie was really cool.
This is hot. And I think for anyone who's ever kind of wondered about Jason, or you just like, I get it. Jason can be a little bit divisive for some people.
I don't see it for him.
Like him,
I don't. But the story was good.
But again, like Jason, I think with Jason, like people tend to like overdo the whole like aggressive member of the family, the like black sheep thing, and it gets a little bad. And it's just like, okay, like he mad, but he's mellowed out a little bit. Or we just go like, now he's fighting with crowbars, and it's just like that's never what his thing was.
Yeah,
he was trying.
I don't really like the Mortal Kombat mask they got with him going on too. Like,
it's a little ridiculous, but he's got other good stories out there. Again, that Lost Days of the Lost Days of the Red Hood miniseries by Judd Winnick is also really good. Red Hood and the Outlaw series that launched. So the thing, it's not.
My sister's in that, and I don't know. They did kind of bad in that.
It's like, this is the thing. He got paired up with Starfire and Arsenal, and it wasn't good for them, but it was good for Jason. And even the one after that followed, that pulled in Artemis and Bizarro, like it wasn't really.
I heard that one was really good.
That one was actually pretty good, like with Artemis and Bizarro. That's like when the story kind of made more sense, because like him being paired up with Starfire and Roy, it was like these are Dick's friends,
right?
Why is Jason with them? And they tried to build that. It was not a good story for them. It was fine for Jason, but when Artemis and Bizarro came up, that's the run I'd actually recommend to people.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. They did Starfire bad.
So bad. It was so bad.
Oh, they tried with her though. They threw a couple of runs out there to try and make her a solo star. But
Those were so bad too.
They
The solo run they tried to give her the image of where she was at the moment, but gave her the personality of like the cartoon, which is not her personality at all. Like she's not gonna go walk up to some mustard and start drinking it and be like, "What is this?" Like,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, and I know now that you've been reading like the Wolfman and Perez
Yes,
run.
yes,
Like
yes.
I know it upsets you even more to think about that because like
Oh my
you're starting to
gosh.
see like the Starfire that I've been telling you about for years.
Listen, the one thing about Starfire is like I've always been like a pretty decent fan of hers. Like I've always been a big fan, and I read her, with the Teen Titans run back then, but I hadn't read this Perez stuff. Now, this is my girl, top two, easily top two, and the things that have been done with her now is it's so sad to see. Like where is my morally gray space princess?
Like wow.
Where's my hot girl?
If I if I never recommend a comic to you, I will always recommend the Judas Contract. It is literally one of my top 5 comic book runs arcs of all time. Like that entire era, Wolfman and Perez, like that's the Titans for me.
Maybe we can do that as a reread because I'm actually coming up on that soon. In my read of this.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of long. That's what I realized when we've been doing these DC rereads. They're all kind of long.
Their events still are kind of long, yes. That's probably why they can turn them into movies because there's plenty of material.
Like even this one, I think when it started, it ran from like November to I want to say maybe like March, but then it went on hiatus and it didn't come back until like the next fall. So it was like really weird. It just took like a really long time. So I was like, okay, that's why I was like Identity Crisis. That's like 7 issues.
That's not that bad. That's not bad.
I guess it's not, but still, this was like 12, 15.
Overall, I would have probably rated this like a 4 out of 5. What would you give it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Quintessential Jason Todd story.
And I think maybe DC like Batman corner story. I think this is like
truly like, and I think it's because Death in the Family was such a big deal, and like this is the direct follow up of it, and it's like it's Jason Todd. Like he's iconic. I don't know. You can hate him what you want, but it's like who
he's
he
always
is.
Gonna be there. Yeah.
You know who he is. I don't know.
Him and his guns.
Boo boo. He's the red bat now. He's got his. That's on his.
Yeah.
thing.
He's also got his own symbol. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the show, y'all. Make sure you check us out on wherever you subscribe to your podcast. Leave us a review. Give us 5 stars. All that good stuff. Thank you so much for everyone who has been doing that. We really appreciate all the comments. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, send them over to us via email at anotherrelaunch@gmail.com. You can tweet us at Another Relaunch or find us on Instagram. You can also watch the show at Another Relaunch TV. Also, I think someone asked where I got my Jean Grey crew neck. Actually got it from this Redbubble site, I think it was. Or TeePublic. Actually, I think it was TeePublic. And I'll find the link and I'll tweet it out and post it. So check out for that. Cool. And you can find me on most social media at Uncanny LZ. Keenan, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Keenan Lance. There's an underscore at the end.
Boom.